Hey guys, my name is Elizabeth and I will be talking about tips for school social workers. So these are basically things that I have gathered over the last 2 semesters at my field placement. So I hope you are able to take something from this and possibly use it at some point. So I'm going to be talking about self-directed IEPs, what those are, the zones of regulation, what they are and why they're important, as well as PBIS and why it's important to use in schools. So a self-directed IEP is essentially just an IEP that is led by the student. Your traditional, regular, usual IEPs are usually led by the teacher. So they do all the talking. Sometimes the student isn't even present. So yeah, a self-directed IEP, I feel is really important because it gives students a voice and a sense of control. Like when talking about your goals and your future, like, don't you want some say so? At least I would. But yeah, so an example. Here's one of the handouts that one of our students had actually used in his IEP. So I mean, he came up with all this on his own. His teacher just kind of helped him put it on one paper, make it look nice. And so we came into his IEP and had a handout for everyone, which was really cool. I don't know, sense of, I don't know, I found it very, it was like, oh, so cute. If you ever sat through an IEP, traditional, led by the teacher, they're pretty boring, not gonna lie. After you sit through so many, they're just kind of repetitive. Um, and they're, I mean, how we do it at my school is they project it on on the screen and you just kind of follow along. But it's like a really lengthy Word document. So it's kind of hard to follow, to be honest. Um, and yeah, so I mean, this is a lot more appealing and engaging than it is to sit there and try and follow along with all these little words on the screen. And I mean, these are select the important stuff out of the IEP. And I mean, parents really, really enjoy this. Like the last one that I had said, where they had did a handout, the parents had asked if they could have like extra copies of this. They were proud of it, which is cool, and I'm sure that made their son feel good about it. So another like thing that we do for self-directed is sometimes in addition to the handout, or the popular one, I guess I should say, is PowerPoints, which is essentially the same thing, but each point has its own slide and there's more pictures. And that's also fun, very fun. We had one student that had did her own, made her PowerPoint with her teacher. And she, I don't know, she was very fixated on going to Ulta. And her mom had said no, but she was so fixated. But anyways, she was reading through her slide and she kept saying, okay, next, okay, next, okay, next. And like her teacher, wanted to add on, give feedback here and there. And she kept cutting him off. And it was just really funny. Because her goal was actually around, like not interrupting and being rude. And not that she, means to, but her ASD, she just does it. So like she says sorry and she totally doesn't sound like she means it, but it's great. I love it. It's good stuff. So research on self-directed IEPs. So when comparing them to, your traditional teacher-led IEPs, you get better attendance from parents. Students talk more about their interests, their dreams, and their job interests after school. I mean, of course, they feel like they're the boss and they're doing all the talking and they get to put together this cool, presentation or whatever they decide to do. And they feel more confident in reaching their goals. And I mean, that makes sense, right? Because I know I would if I was the one doing the planning and the talking as compared to my teacher putting down whatever they felt was best and, what I needed kind of thing. Because unfortunately, that's typically how, so far what I've seen at least, if it's not a self-directed IEP, because sadly they're not all self-directed IEPs that I've sat in. And I mean, I guess too, like you can't always, it's just, it's not, the reality is you can't always do a self-directed IEP. There will be some disabilities or impairments that are, too severe where, it's just not possible. But you can accommodate, for example, a student that maybe have a speech impairment or nonverbal, let's say, it might take some extra time to put together a handout or a little more, effort or whatever on the teacher's part, but you can make it happen. You can work with them and go the extra mile to help them put together that handout and, actually get their input and say so. I just feel like it's very, very empowering. And yeah, as social workers, like we should totally advocate for students, like whenever possible, or even with accommodations, to move towards self-directed IEPs. Okay, so next, the zones of regulation. If you don't know what that is, I have a great visual for that. Next slide. But this is a really good tool for teaching self-regulation skills, and this is why. So these are the 4 zones. So essentially they are yellow, red, green, and blue. No matter how you look it up or you look it up, it's going to be the same colors and the same feelings to go in each of those zones. So my supervisor and I actually run a 7-week group on the zones of regulation. So we start off with teaching the zones, what each color means, what feelings, what do those feelings look like, what color they go to. And then we move on to, okay, well, how does your body feel when you're in the red zone? Or what are your triggers? What makes you mad? And then we move to coping strategies. Like, okay, unfortunately, you missed that warning sign. There was a trigger that couldn't be avoided. So we're in the red zone. What can you do to get back into the gray zone? So we for each of those, we have the class or whoever you're working with, they make their own list, right? You do it together, essentially. But it's cool, you get some cool stuff. We had one student, when he shared like what made him mad, he said he got really mad when he got too many reminders from the doctor about to attend an appointment, like an appointment reminder, which me personally, I don't think I've ever got too many reminders. But I thought that was cool because he was very, very serious. And I thought he wasn't, but no, he was very serious. Yeah, he said he'd get so mad to the point where, I shouldn't laugh, it's not funny, but he'd get so mad to the point where he wouldn't even attend the appointment. Yeah, he just made him really upset. So hey, everyone's different, so that's very valid. So I'm in the zones that it also offers, like, you got to reflect on everyone's different. So what makes you mad may not make Sally mad, kind of thing. So learning your warning signs, how your body feels, and then how to get back into the green zone is pretty important, especially for in the special education department. And even social workers, overall school social workers, that is, lying, because you can actually use some therapy too. Like, you may have a family that comes to you and, their son is struggling to regulate emotions, he's having outlashing and, doing this and that. You can teach them the zones. So yeah, it's a great tool to have under your belt as a social worker in general, I'd say. So this is actually the gauge that we use in our groups. I've actually made a couple of these individually with students too, but anyways. So we give students a blank document of this and they color it. We take it back, we laminate it, cut it out, and assemble it for them. So then they get to keep it even after, our group, or, whenever we're done meeting with them, it's theirs to keep. And actually we found that teachers do use these in their classrooms and whatnot, which is, they get them from us, or, we get the credit. But it's really great that they continue to implement, what we learn in the classroom, even after we're done with our 7-week session, your group. Hold on, let's back up. So research on PBIS. So it is evidence-based. So there's a ton of stuff on it. There really is. It's crazy. It's how much stuff there is. But so, although sad thing is there's not enough data to show like if the impact is long lasting, because there is, I mean, data does show that, I mean, they do see a decrease in like negative behaviors in regards to like, self-regulating with students, but there's not enough to really say whether, okay, well, does it last? Like, oh yeah, it's working now, but but so I can say for my school in particular, I mean, because the teachers take what we've taught and the skills and tools and they use them in the classroom, what we teach is probably long lasting. So if you have teachers that are involved and, very active and like when teaching the groups or whatever, or even parents, like if you're using it in group therapy, or I mean therapy, one-on-one therapy, family therapy, whatever you're doing, if you get them on board and teach it to them as well, they can use it with their family, kids, whoever at home. So then the results or impact is long lasting. Okay, so then lastly, PBIS, which is positive behavioral interventions and supports, which sounds like a fancy, I don't know, something you buy, curriculum, whatever. Oh, my first week at my internship, my supervisor was telling me about this meeting on Friday. Oh, you got to be there. You can't miss it. PBIS meeting, going on and on about it, like all this great stuff. And I'm just like looking at him like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, hold on, back up. What's PBIS? So then it's positive behavior intervention supports. I'm like, okay, what is that? Because like when you hear that, like it sounds like, it's pretty good. Like it got some, it's some good stuff behind it, but what is it? So I mean, it took me a minute to get what it was, because even when he explained, or I don't even think he explained it to me, I think he just said, what it stood for. So I was like, oh, okay. So I had to do my own research, and then even after we practiced it and I, seen some stuff in action, then it all made sense and it came together. So with that being said, so at my school, first we practice like school-wide SOAR, which stands for safe, on task, aware of self, and responsible. So every month we have 4 or 5 student of the month nominees from teachers. And so these are teachers that display above and beyond SOAR expectations. So majority of the time they are practicing SOAR behavior, right? And so when I first started, I remember actually, every month I had a student that would come to me before the celebration, or actually just kind of every time I seen him really. He'd ask me if I knew who the student of the month was going to be for the next coming month. I'm like, no, I don't pick, the teacher nominates, and then, we announce them during our celebration. But he still asked me every time he seen me, which was cute. And actually this past month, he was nominated. And so he comes to me the day of the celebration, like that morning, and he's like, I'm student of the month. I got nominated this month. And like he's just like really excited. And I'm like, what? I'm like, how do you know? How do you know that? Because I did know actually that I already knew that morning that he was nominated. Like, who told you that? And he's like, sorry, I seen it. I seen it in my teacher, like one of the staff members in their computer. I was like, oh, I don't think you're supposed to see that, but I can't say no, you're not, or I don't know. So yeah, it's great. He went from asking me every time to telling me like, oh, yeah, hey, I'm student of the month. So anyways, in addition to announcing student of the month in our celebration, so they get a frame certificate. We take their picture and we hang it on the wall, like when you first walk in the building. So it's a big deal. You're pretty like a star, you're a star for the month. So then in addition to that student of the month. We also have a raffle. So throughout the month, students have, it's really up to them to display, sort of behaviors here and there, like, oh, maybe they're safe outside or safe in the community or on task in the classroom, et cetera, et cetera. So whenever the teacher sees them, displaying some kind of sort of behavior, they get their little sort card ticket signed. And after they get so many, well, really after they fill the little card, then they get to turn it into the raffle box. And then so we have a raffle every month for that. And also, so not every time, but we've tried bingo and Kahoot. And so when I created the Kahoot, I had made the questions around SOAR. Like, for example, what does it mean to be safe in the bathroom? Or what does it mean to be responsible in the community? And so on and so forth. And yeah, the results were really bad. Like the end summary, the scores were pretty low, which is like, dang, we need to do better. I think about it, we totally should have did a Kahoot, like, the beginning of our first celebration, and then did another one at the end of the school year and compared. Anyways, so yeah, hey, if you guys do PBIS or want to try PBIS, there you go. That's a great idea. So then another thing that we do every celebration is it's called the Minute to Win It Challenge. I guess it's a TV show. I didn't know that. But my supervisor tells everyone every time we do one. But anyways, they're very amusing. You should look them up. Yeah, they're pretty great. They're fun. Yeah, look them up. Well, we do that too to, get kids engaged and whatnot. They're always really excited about the celebration. So like I get students always asking me when's gonna be the next one and whatnot. So it's great. So that's how we practice PBIS in our school. So the boring or the great research on PBIS. So this has actually been around for quite some time. I think since early 2000s. But not all schools either know about it or implement it. And it actually is like it's like a professional development, like a one-day training. And you guys can use it in your school or whatever. I don't know exactly how the nitty-gritty, how it works to get it, in your school. But I do know that it's just like one day of training, which is crazy. Like that's it. But I would imagine it's free, or get ideas from other people. But no, like, yes, students are doing things like for an incentive of some sort, either to get their name drawn and a prize from the raffle, or student of the month, like, the end goal of them, displaying whatever it is you guys are trying to get out of it. Like for us, it's SOAR. And they're doing it. So, win-win. But yeah, so this is just saying that PBIS, it creates a culture, that where you need to improve social, emotional, behavioral, and academic outcomes for all students. Yeah. So lastly, I didn't make a slide, but for like in regards to the code of ethics. So what stood out to me the most was dignity and worth of a person. Like when thinking about these topics, like more specifically, self-directed IEPs. Because regardless of a disability or impairment, like, those individuals are still human. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. So, if they're able to use their voice, they certainly should. So, as social workers, we, as I said before, like, we really need to advocate for them, to be able to actually really be a part and, participate in their IEPs, like however much as possible. Because it's just like for like my internship, for example, it's our students it's considered a transition campus. So they're adults, they're 18 to 26. And the overall goal is to get them more independent, out in the community and things like that, out of their home, out of mom's house, hopefully, and a lot of them do, like, it might be a group home or something, but it's still, they're more independent. So, yeah, they need to be able to use their voice and make goals and things like that. Um, so yeah, that one is a huge one as far as like for social workers, practicing dignity and worth of a person. But yeah, so that's all I got, and thank you for watching.